My guest was a busy young mother, 2 kids, a business manager, just getting through yet another busy day in Holland Landing, Ontario, when suddenly she got hit with what she thought was a bad flu, ended up in the hospital, and her life as she knew it would change forever. The story of Cyndi Wikens was one of incredible pain. She had both her hands and feet amputated. But this story has an amazing ending. Cyndi, it is so great to have you back on 100 Huntley Street.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So 7 years ago, as I mentioned, life's just going great, but you get sick, really sick. Tell me about what happened.
Well, I had a strange ache in my right leg and a high fever, started vomiting aggressively, was rushed to the hospital under the impression that I had the flu. And when I arrived, many of the doctors were quite panicked. And I was asking for medication for my pain in my leg, and they apologized that they couldn't give me anything because my blood pressure was too low. At that point, they recognized that I had a severe bacterial infection and medically induced a coma. I had presented in renal failure and septic shock. My kidneys and liver were shutting down, and my husband was told that I would not make it through the night.
Yeah, he was getting the word out, Mark was, that my wife might not make it. And it's interesting that we talked about this previously, that really affected his spiritual journey because he wasn't, following Jesus at that time. So things turned around. But as you read in your book, Shine On, which is a great read, it's so intense. I cried at different parts of it because you really put us in that room. And now, so you're kind of going in and out of consciousness, or how much of you aware until you were told these things after?
I was aware of very little, except for one moment in which I knew I was about to die. And I knew that I was speaking to God. I could feel hot tears running down my face, and I asked him, please, God, don't take me now. We had worked so hard to build our family, and I wasn't ready, and I'm not ready is what I said to him, and that has so many levels of importance in it, doesn't it? I wasn't ready at all.
So what was that experience? Was it, you're going towards the bright light, or?
I saw a white light that started off small and started to get larger. And really, it wasn't so much my focus as this overwhelming feeling that I was going to speak to God and I was going to beg him not to take me yet. And so when I awoke from my coma 5 weeks later, I found Mark standing over me. He told me that they'd had to amputate my hands and feet. And I thought of that light, and I thought, God gave me a second chance.
Now, I want to talk more about, when you did come out of the coma, the 5.5 weeks. But as you mentioned, you really had to fight. You wanted to be a mother. Your friends are all having babies. That wasn't happening for you.
No. And I do believe God used that to really prepare me. When I found out I couldn't have children, I went into a very deep depression. I had had an idyllic childhood. I hadn't had to face any real trauma. And then I find out that my dream of having a child is not going to happen. There were times when I'd lie in my bathtub at night thinking, I just want this pain in my heart to end. And I would feel him just carrying me through. And I prayed for my daughter. And then we decided to adopt after failed IVF attempts. And there's presented to us this beautiful baby girl who happened to have a birthmark in the very same spot on her back as I do. And I knew that was God's kiss.
That's a little sign, don't you think?
Yeah.
So you have this Sienna, this beautiful little girl.
Yeah.
And then you go to Argentina and you were able to have
Mark
a son.
and I went to Argentina for a specialized procedure and came home pregnant. And we had a baby boy. And we thought, that was it. We traveled our trials, and Mark would say, we traveled the Western Hemisphere to build our family. We're all done now.
Okay, we're gonna take a break, Cyndi. So that's kind of the backdrop. Young mother, young family, there's children, and then this terrible thing happens. But it's amazing how God does turn things around, and we'll tell you the rest of Cyndi's story when we come back.